Hi there, I'm Jeff, and I'm going to show you how to get VS Code installed on your computer and connected to a mainframe. Let's get started. I'll be showing you most of these steps in Windows, and the instructions are mostly the same across platforms. Whenever the steps are different for Mac, I'll show you those as well. Step one is to open up a browser. Any modern browser will do, and go to nodejs.org. Find the downloads section and download the right version. I recommend the LTS version because that stands for long-term support and it's more likely to be stable throughout the course of the contest. You'll notice this detected Windows, and check this out. If I'm on a Mac, it'll auto-detect that as well. Next, go to code.visualstudio.com and click on the download button right here. It says download for Windows. On Mac, it'll say download for Mac. Click to that next page and click save. So you are saving both of these things to your downloads folder, the Node.js installer and the VS Code package. And we'll start out by double-clicking on the Node.js installer. Now, the installer asks a lot of the same questions on both platforms. You just double-click it to start it, read through these agreements. Those look good to me. I accept those. Unless you have any reason not to, just take the defaults. And we have one thing we do not want to click right here. This automatically install the necessary tools. You can do this if you want to. It installs Python and Visual Studio build tools. We don't need it for the contest, so unless you have a reason to, just don't install that. And it's saying, do I want to allow this to make changes? Yep, go ahead. And here's the install. The install looks fairly similar on Mac, as you can see right here. And let's just speed this up a little bit. There we go. We're done. We can click finish. Node.js is installed. If you are on Windows, double-click on the VS Code installer and just click through here, take a look at the, yep, those look good to me, okay. When I get to this select additional tasks screen, I like to select all these. It just makes it easier to integrate things on your desktop. You don't have to. It doesn't really matter for the sake of this contest, but it's something I like to do. And then I hit next, and it says this is what it's going to do. I hit install, and there it goes. Warp speed. That's it, it's all installed. We can hit finish and it will launch Visual Studio Code. If you're on a Mac, we don't get that fancy installer. Instead, what we do is we go into our downloads, we find that Visual Studio Code package, and we just drag and drop it into applications, and then it's basically installed. If you don't have an applications favorite on the left side of your screen like I do right there, then just open up a second Finder window, navigate to Applications, and drag it from Downloads into Applications. Now, if we go into Applications and scroll all the way to the bottom and look for V for VS Code, we will find, here it is. One more step I recommend you take is to drag it from here into your dock. This doesn't move it, it just makes a shortcut. So now you can just click on Visual Studio Code in your dock to launch it. It's going to bounce for a little bit and then say, hey, this is something you've never run before. It was downloaded from the internet. Are you sure you want to run it? And you're going to say, yes, I downloaded that from the internet. It's okay. And here we are in Visual Studio Code. Let's jump back to our Windows system and finish up. This is the welcome and release note screen for Visual Studio Code. Obviously yours will look different depending on when you downloaded it. First thing we're going to do is go into extensions. It's this little 4 square thing on the left side. And we're going to search for Zoe, Z-O-W-E or Z-O-W-E. And look for Zoe Explorer. And then click install. You can see it's got a lot of downloads and a really good rating, so that's installing. And then right below it is this Ibm Z Open Editor. If it's not right there, you can also search for it up here and type Ibm Z Open Editor. Same thing, Ibm Z Open Editor, lots of downloads, good rating, click install, and it's installing. And both of these are just going to install directly into VS Code. We don't have to find the files or run installers or anything. It just does it right here. All we have to do is wait for it. Let's speed this up a little bit. Now that these are both done, we need to restart VS Code. So we'll go up to File and then Exit. On Mac, that's going to be Code, quit Visual Studio Code all the way at the bottom. And then we'll launch VS Code again. And because we elected to have a desktop icon, it's right there. If we're on Mac, it's in your dock. Now we have this fancy new little Zoe icon on the left. Let's click on that. You can see we have datasets, Unix system services, and jobs. These are all empty right now. What we need to do is we need to create a profile. So let's click that Add Profile, create a new connection to ZOS. That is definitely what we want. Let's give it a name. We'll call it MTM 2020. The profile type, we want a ZOSMF profile. Select that. Now for the ZOS URL in the format of HTTPS URL port, here's what we're going to do. We're going to enter HTTPS:// just like it says. Our URL is an IP address. Now pay attention to this. 192.86.32.153. And now we need the port. So we're going to enter : 10443. So again, 192.86.32.153 : 10443. Unless you were given another IP address to use this IP address and port. So that looks good. Let's hit enter. This is where you're going to enter your user ID and password. And you were given these on a previous step, so hopefully you wrote them down or took a screen cap or something like that. Whenever you see Z99999, that's my user ID. You need your own user ID. It might be like Z12345 or something like that. Make sure you enter your own user ID and password. This Z99999, that is mine. So I'm going to enter my ID and now my password. I'm not going to tell you my password. I need to select false right here to accept connections with self-signed certificates. This is not the default. Make sure you select false here. This option here, we're not using it. Just leave it blank and hit enter. Same thing right here for this encoding. Leave it blank and hit enter. And here we go. You can see we got this new MTM 2020 profile. That wasn't there before, so we're making progress. And it's got a little green check. That's a good sign too. To really make sure it's working and make sure our account is all set up, we want to click on this magnifying glass over here to search datasets by entering patterns. You still with me? Great, because here's a big time-saving tip that'll help you with the contest. Now, typically we start out with just one filter, but I'm going to show you how to use 2 filters to get moving really quickly. Enter your user ID. Mine is Z99999. Yours is not Z99999. It's something else. Then follow that up with a comma, which says we're going to enter a second filter. And I'm going to put in mtm2020.public. That's where all of these source data sets for the contest are. You're going to be copying things back and forth between here quite a bit. And if you set this as your filter right now, you're going to move a whole lot faster. So that's my little tip to you. Do that. Set that as your filter. And you can see we have our own personal data sets here with my user ID. And we've got all of the mtm2020.public datasets as well. Pretty neat. Now that we have that profile working for datasets, we're going to do the exact same thing for Unix system services, except we can just click on that plus sign and select mtm2020 because we already defined that. We're going to do the exact same thing for jobs. So now we have those profiles added for datasets, Unix system services, and jobs. One last thing, it's time to enter a command. How do we do that? We're going to right click on the profile in any one of these. Let's do it up here in datasets. Right click on the profile and select issue command. What command are we going to enter? Let's do our favorite D space IPL info. IPL info, one word, and then hit enter. And in the bottom right corner here, this new area, this output terminal area pops up. And it says, here's the command we entered, and here's the output from that command. So to recap, we've installed VS Code, installed some plugins, we've configured our profile, we've looked at our data sets, and we've run a command. And that is it. Now, whether you followed along with the video in real time or you're about to start your install, we're glad you're here. We wish you the best of luck with the challenges. Good luck.